so that you can earn money and compete. Not compete, I mean, we don't compete, eh?
No.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm better than you. I was checking.
I said, I'll come do video for you because I didn't want to intimidate him. You know?
Okay, take that one.
Okay, okay. So, I mean, we never started out coming out of film school or anything like that when it came to video. But we, you know, because I, as a teenager, I loved sketch art and I dabbled in sketch art and it became better. And with anything you do, the more you do it, the better you become. So I did sketch art, I did some canvas painting and stuff like that, and I had a passion for it. But you know, life happens, you go through school, peer pressure, all those kind of things, you find other interests. And then I got into music. And with that, I spent hours and hours practicing till I got to a point where I could play with other musicians. And then, so I'm just running through this. No, it's just play with other musicians, got kind of left school and started playing for money. And you know, like 10 years later, you're kind of touring and you're doing recording sessions and stuff like that.
Okay, you can say for who did you play? Just
no, there's just, I'm not, no, just.
He's a famous musician.
No, I'm not. So kind of that was what it was. My life was recording studios, going on, playing shows, being on stage, being in rehearsal rooms. So your 9 to 5 is in the week is rehearse. Weekends are normally shows, and some nights you play in jazz venues or whatever. And you know, you just explore the industry and you make connections. So that's actually where this leads to, is connections and networking. And I learned to network as a musician to get my name out there because although, what do they say in the industry, if you want to get ahead, it's about who you know.
Yeah.
I agree, but I also like to add that it's about who knows you. So if no one knows how competent you are or what your style is or that you are talented or whatever, if no one knows your name, you know, if people are not talking normal conversation and mentioning your name, no one's gonna, you know, you need to kind of be at the front of people's minds and stuff. And I learned to do that via social media and via messaging and whatever, and that's how I met this guy. So what I did was I used my connections as a musician because I knew people in the industry, in the Cape Town and South Africa. And you know what, I started developing this love for photography first of all, and then that led to video. And how it led to video was I didn't know how to shoot video, so I used to get in a room and want to play and I'd record myself and I learned to edit that. And that's how I learned to edit video. And that kind of, you know, snowballed because the first video camera I had was an iPhone. And that's how I learned to kind of make videos with an iPhone.
Yeah.
iPhone.
Android.
iPhone.
Samsung.
Yeah, so Samsung. So that's kind of where it was for me. And how I kind of went deeper into that was I started doing music photography. And why I'm starting with this is because this kind of gave me a really good foundation when I came to doing video production, filmmaking and all that. Because I learned the photography stuff, composition, exposure, how to tell stories. Yeah, how to tell stories in an image. And then I'm always compelled to, oh, it's a nice image now. Can I do a video of you? Because now I see that there's a story here, you know. And that's where it kind of went. So I was shooting concerts, the events, festivals, shows I would play in. I eventually started shooting as well, because the organizers or promoters, whatever, I got to know them, and I said, listen, I'm doing this, and I'll come and shoot the concert or the event for free. That's where it always starts. Do it for free. If you want to really practice and get good at something, do it for free. Same as when I wanted to become a studio musician, I used to do recording sessions for nothing. I didn't want pay because I knew that eventually I'm going to get to a point where they're going to like what I do enough to want to book me, to pay me.
And it helps if you're a nice guy.
It helps if you're a nice guy, yeah.
Of course.
You know. So I not only did concerts, but I then could do profile shoots of musicians and artists for their posters or CD covers, and that's where it started. And I learned about light and texture and color and all those things. And then that kind of, that kind of led me to video. And this is kind of just what I used to do. I'd record myself playing, whether it's in a concert or in a recording session or whatever. Whatever show I'm playing, I've always got cameras with me. So I'm always recording myself. so Nelis records himself shooting, I record myself playing. So high five, high five.
Well
Okay,
done.
cool. So that's kind of where it started for me. And then I wanted to go further into video production and deeper, and and then eventually I started filming concerts. So the approach I took, same as what I did in the other side of my work, I'd connect with someone, work with them, and then offer to grow with them. So
Building the relationship.
yes, so that I can also learn and do all my stuff, practice and whatever. So I connect with an artist or a singer or a songwriter, and I say, you know what, let me do your videos for you. And then it starts like that, and I did the first music video, and I learned in that because I made all my mistakes, mixed frame rates, wrong frame
We'll
rates,
get to
things
that
didn't
now.
work, all those things, fixed it every time. And over the years, I don't want to say I got better, I just learned more and I applied what I learned.
No, you got better, okay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So then I needed to connect. So I wanted to get into this industry, and then I connected with, this is one of the connections I made. Yeah, this
Yeah.
was also a journey.
Yeah, sick. The nice photo.
Yes, hey, who was that? Who was that? Yeah. So Nelis and I did a lot of shoots together, both with photography and video, or I'll just come and do video while he's doing photos and stuff. And you know what? I would watch him work and see what he does, and I'm like, you know what? This is so interesting to capture, and I've got this whole thing, and we never ever get to edit the stuff.
We've done so many road trips to Joburg and doing vlogs and stuff, and then we just end up with the footage.
Yeah,
just get
like,
so busy.
like I've got footage, you got footage. So we'll
Yeah.
see one day. Okay, so
Let's
yeah,
start.
so that's how we connect. I learned
Yeah.
collaborating
Yeah.
is the best way.
Yeah.
We built relationships. We connected each other's friends with each other and stuff like that. And I love these team mentality, and I learned from that it's better to work in a team than to work alone, because you will accomplish so much more. Collaborating each one's strengths. So like all my strengths and one of his.
Yeah.
I love you, man.
Okay, that's okay. Don't
Okay,
miss me.
okay.
Don't-
Okay.
No,
Okay.
just on that point, this is like basically he's just the colored version of me.
He's the white version of me.
Personality-wise, because we click so great. Like you guys will see, we always. It's like a instelling that we need to have fun on a shoot.
Yeah.
That was, and we can talk for hours on WhatsApp with only using GIFs, memes, GIFs.
Yeah.
And that's the most funny
1,000
thing.
words. That picture tells 1,000 words.
But that's like I've never seen him get mad ever, and that's the same with me. We know we need, especially when we're going on a job. We focus. We need to get the job done, even if something is not wrong. He's always the guy who's like, "Don't worry, it'll be okay. It's fine. We'll focus." I'm normally the logistics one, like, "Why the?" He's like, "No, it's fine."
Yeah,
It's
I was
fine.
like this in there.
So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna just to introduce you to basic video stuff, just so you can get into it.
Yeah, so videography. There's two concepts, two terms that we throw around. Not throw around, but I mean we use. It's videography and then there's cinematography. And often we think it's two different things. And although they connect on all the basic stuff. So with videography, basically a definition of it is capturing something as it's happening. Like what you see, the act of what we're doing now, that's what that is. So it's whether it's events, speeches at a wedding or a function or whatever, a message video, which is intended for an audience. So that's the kind of the concept of what videography is. It's literally just shooting something as it's happening. You're not planning it, you're just being ready to just capture. And the flip side of it, of cinematography, which we'll get there, is more of a storytelling. So this is, I don't think I put audio in here, but this is just basically a sample of an idea of what a videography approach is. So this is a message video, and this would normally start with the context of what the message is about. So this was a music video I did, and then it comes to, sorry, I'll just take the, yeah, it's just a message video. So the message is basically a one camera shot and you're speaking into camera, it's a message. So I gave context at the beginning and context at the end. Open it with something, end it with something. I could have even just used the text, it would have been completely fine. Text in the beginning, text at the back. That's what that is. Cinematography, however, is more, in my understanding, it's capturing a series of video sequences to visually tell a story. So storytelling. But you then do it with intention of movement, sometimes with lighting, and often you want to motivate it with sound, with good audio. So for this, music videos, wedding, highlight films, short films, movies, these are all examples of what cinematography is. And often it involves a lot of people. So this is kind of an idea of that. It's something we did a while back. Okay. Sound. Anything microwave? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So basically, this was just shooting a whole lot of sequences of a product, or a brand of products for the client, and we used it to tell a story of how you can use this product for almost any kind of sports, and mainly we aim for adventure sports.
Yeah, this is actually our first international client, ProMounts. They said, listen, can we ship a bunch of GoPro stuff for you guys and test it out? We got a bunch of friends together. We basically just took a lot of GoPro footage. As you guys can see, the editing is what makes the video.
Yeah.
The post-production, we can just grab a bunch of GoPro footage, put it nicely together that you can get that feeling, that story, as if you're part of the whole video. And that's one of the bigger parts that we're going to chat about a bit later, is how to write that story, how to tell it, how to put all those different sequences together. So at the end of the day, you've got this beautiful video that's telling this awesome story.
Yeah, and especially the pre-planning in this case is very important, because we planned, we said there's locations, these are the locations we want, these are the talent, we call it talent, the people in the video. That we need to get. We need to schedule. We scheduled this over 4 days.
Yeah, it was 3 days. We only had 3 days
to shoot 7 locations or something.
Yeah, it's about 7 or 8 different locations, and we got some friends on Facebook say, "Listen, you guys want to have some GoPro gear for free?" And they just came out and we start shooting, and then we just give them the GoPro stuff.
Yeah.
But the client was very happy. We already did our second one for them as well. They just shipped me some drone fittings that we needed to test them out. So we're just waiting for summer to come, because at this stage it's a bit not like
And the team the team we had on this shoot was really a bunch of friends, and we literally had fun. You know, some of us were in the water. Were you on the jet ski?
Yeah, I was in. We basically jumped into the water with a jet ski.
Yeah, we were just hoping he would fall or something. He's just too good. But yeah, it was the collaboration and the chemistry in the team is also very important in that case. And then the editor is also.
Yeah, CJ is one of our friends. He's one of my main editors. He's really good. He's been blessed with an amazing talent. He can write a. Yeah, he's also a drummer.
Yeah,
he can,
that's why he's so.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go buy a drum kit on Country. Just to get my mind. But yeah, it just shows you how you can use normal footage and just put it into a video clip that just blows your mind. This is how basically how our video production started with this video. I can still remember it was our first job.
Yeah, and we did a lot since then.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Okay,
anyway, so most of us, I assume, are photographers or videographers, or doing both, or wanting to get into understanding video, because I often speak to people who like say, you know what, I've been taking photos and in my church or in my club of whatever, but now they ask me to take a video of something and I don't know what to do. And many times we've got a camera that's actually capable of doing amazing video. It's really good quality video in terms of image quality and stuff. But then you don't know what is going on or how to do this. And we often come up with faced with terms frame rate, shutter speed, ISO, aperture. We know those things, you know.
It's all
It's all basic stuff. What's the video system PAL setting? Because these are settings that's in your DSLR. And then focal length, composition, lenses, camera, audio capture, and all these things are all things that you consider that makes one part of a video shoot. Other things we think about is the white balance.
Yeah, the Kelvins, the different light that you use. You can have a Kelvin, like some of the LEDs have a cool temperature, and then you have the redheads that have a more warmer feel. So then you need to know your Kelvins in camera too. But we'll quickly go through some camera settings just now.
Yeah, and the obviously the whole thing around white balance, same as with photography. Whatever your lights are, you want your skin tones to look as natural as possible. So not red or too warm skin tones, or not too blue or too cool. You want it to look kind of like it's supposed to look, no matter what the light is. And that's why it's good to understand Kelvin temperature, and that's why as photographers, having that foundation really helps you, puts you at an advantage, as with someone who just comes out of nowhere and picks up a camera and says, I'm going to shoot video. Okay, what Kelvin temperature are you going to shoot? Who's Kelvin?
Who's that guy? Who's that guy?
You might as well say, what Nelis temperature are you going to shoot?
Calvin Klein?
So those are the things. One of the things that a lot of people don't always understand, it took me a long time to understand this, is frame rate. What is frame rate? Basically, for anyone who's never encountered this before, your frame rate is literally the amount of still images your camera takes within a second of your video sequence. So, for instance, if we must backtrack to a few decades when it's not mine. If we backtrack, then if you remember, the earliest thoughts I get about a video camera is when I used to see these behind the scenes little videos of Charlie Chaplin, and they're shooting it with this camera with the Mickey Mouse ears.
The rolls with the reels,
the Mickey Mouse ears. And I see that, but used to watch it, and the speed was, it was always fast. Then I learned that they shot it at a specific frame rate. So as the reel goes, the reel has got frames, and as that frame passes, the sensor where the light comes into
starts developing.
It starts taking images, and as the faster, it wasn't going at a high speed; it was going fairly slow. So, but when you play it back normal, I was playing at something like 14 frames a second, and that's how they used to watch videos in the 50s, 40s, something like that. But later, yes, there we go. But later, they developed this. So obviously, everything starts somewhere, and it always develops. And now we work with international standard of either 24 frames per second in video or 25 frames per second. And this all has to do, all cameras, DSLRs that can do video, can do of those 24, 25, 30 frames, because there's those systems are built in. And how that works, let me just go past this, is you'll always see under your video settings. Can we just go there?
Let's quickly go
Let's
there.
just quickly go there.
I'm just going to quickly switch.
Although this is a 5D, this is a setting that I've encountered all cameras to have within the menu system.
So
just go there quickly.
When you have a look at your menu system, you'll see there's different. I just want to see if I can go there now.
Oh, it's by the spanner.
By the spanner.
Spanner. There we go.
Okay.
One more. One.
There we go.
There we go. So video system, NTSC or PAL, and basically what that means. NTSC is just a system format that all broadcast or TVs in certain regions were made at. Means it's an American system format, and basically you watch. Most things were shot at 24 frames or 29.97, which is kind of 30 frames, but sometimes they're technical about that. 29.97, and in America, some parts of South America, that's what the TV systems were running at. And then you get PAL, which is used in Europe. You can switch back.
Okay.
Yeah, just keep it there, but let's just switch it back. Which is used in Europe and some parts of Asia and Africa. that works in 25 frames. So most of the times we watch TV and our eyes are used to this frame rate. So when you watch a movie from Hollywood, you were watching it in 24 frames. I think I saw, again, I looked at Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy.
The old one.
Yeah, the old one. And I was watching and I paid attention to the frame rate, the movement, and I could see there's motion blur in the fast movements of your limbs or whatever. And when they slow down certain sections or certain parts, then there's this jitter. But that's because of the 24 frames. Cameras never had high frame rate at the time. Whereas nowadays, you get DSLRs that gives you so many more options, which allows young
Slow
filmmakers
motion, yeah.
to shoot parts of their video in slow motion or edit it in slow motion, so you get a completely smooth kind of motion.
So the higher the frame rate, the more you can slow-mo it down into post-production.
Yeah, because
Not
there's more
all
frames.
cameras can shoot at 120 frames per second. There's some of the new mirrorless ones that go up to 120, 180 even. You can drag them into post, and then you can just slow it down to have a slow movement shot.
Yeah, you can literally have like over 3 seconds something moving from here to there, and that movement is 3 or 4, 5 seconds long, because you can see because there's so many frames that you can literally see each frame smoothly, as opposed to shooting something in 24 frames, which is kind of the lowest you get, and having it look like it's jittering, like a jitter video.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm just going to quickly on that, especially when you're filming in the evenings, and that's where video gets very complicated. During the day outside, it's easy. That's where we just start shooting. But indoors, say for instance, inside the church, inside a venue at the evening, that's when video starts to get challenging because there's not enough light. Your camera, you have an f4 lens, you just can't see the image. You push up the ISO, but it gets grainy. Like in video, you can't fix grain that much as in photography. Videography, you need to get your ISO right. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of big little blots on your videos. That's why shooting on low f lenses is what helps us to shoot up f1.4. And then this is where the kicker is for me between shooting PAL and NTFS on the frame rate, especially on 25 frames and 50 frames. Now, 50 frames is nice to slow your stuff down. But when you get to the evening and you're shooting with LED lights, some LED lights, the refresh rate doesn't compile with your camera's frame rate. So I'm going to quickly give you an example exactly how that works. So you guys can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly open up this and look at that LED. Say once I've got my frame rate wrong, you guys are going to see it'll start to.
Your shutter speed.
Can we just quickly get camera battery quick? Sorry. So what's happening is
Saved by the bell.
So what's happening is you're going to get some slow lines running over your footage. I'm just going to quickly show you now. Okay, I'm just going to quickly grab this out, put it on. So once you can see, I'm just going to go into the light there.
Scanning for devices.
Okay, I'm just going to go to home. Okay. So now you see that over if I go over that LED, you'll see that there's it will start do a flicker. So we call it flicker in video. You can't see it because the frame rate is so. So once you go down, I'm going to go up my f-stop a bit and go my shutter down all the way to about 50. Go like this. And you see that the dark marks across your image when your shutter speed is too high. It will give you a little bit of I don't think you can actually see it nicely on the TV itself. But it's very important that you shoot on your lights, either when you're shooting 25 frames.
Yeah, then you want your shutter speed to be double that.
Yeah.
50.
So then your shutter speed must be 50.
1/50th.
And you're shooting on 50 frames per second. Your shutter speed must be on 100 for him not to pick up the LED lighting, because it's especially when you're shooting with somebody standing behind the TV, you'll see that person will be all over the place. There's going to be lines. Like when you see the movies, the old movies on the screens of the computers, the old computers, you'll see the lines will running all over the screen. It's because of the frame rate of your camera and the refresh rate on the screen doesn't match. So you can't get it out. You have to. That's why there's programs like Flicker Free and all of that. So the challenge comes in the evenings when you shoot video. I'm just going to quickly show you on the camera dials quickly where you set it. So now you can see there. I can set my either to 25 frames or 50 frames, all eye. So then when you go to NTFS file, you go to 60 frames and 30 frames.
Yeah, 24, 30, 60.
So just get that right. So if you use 25 frames, if you use that, you can drop your shutter speed lower in the evening, so you get an extra stop of light. While if you're on 50 frames per second, you only can go down to 100 frames per second. 100, your shutter speed down to 100.
Yeah.
But if you're shooting on 25 frames, you can take your all the way down to a lower shutter speed so that you can get more light. So that's just quickly to show you guys what frame rate is, what it do.
So the difference between, I got confused with this in the beginning. I confused shutter speed with frame rate, and frame rate is basically the amount of frames taken in a second. Shutter is how long, because even though it's video and you don't hear a shutter going, it's still digitally exposing your shutter for each of those frames. So your shutter, so if the lower you go, the more light comes in, but it affects your motion, how it captures the motion. Same as in taking a still. If I take a photo of Nelis walking at 1/30th of a second, he's going to blur because the shutter's open for longer than it is necessary to freeze him in motion. But if I take him, if he's running and I take a photo of him at 250th of a second, I'm going to freeze him in motion. The same with video. If someone's running and you're taking a video and you're moving with them, then the lower your shutter speed, the more blur your image is going to look, the more motion blur you're going to get. The higher it is, the more you're going to see detail in that.
Especially when you start panning.
Yeah.
When you start, guys, video is all about slow movements. And if you take your camera like this, there's going to be motion blur.
Yeah.
And you're going to get your footage that like in sections.
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
Sometimes you do. Like if you know the rules, like Kobus said the other day, you break the rules once you know them. Okay, so if you know the rules of, for instance, of composition, then you're intentionally going to break it for an artistic expression. So sometimes then you want something that normally you wouldn't do in a video shoot. You want to do something because you want to show something artistically in that way. But then you must know why you're doing it, and then obviously understand how to do that, break the rule, and come back to working on the rule again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one.
Okay, and then one of those things that a lot of DSLRs that you get, especially, I mean, you get your pro DSLRs, you get your semi-pro, and you get your entry level, you know, and sometimes your DSLR will have an automatic exposure control where you're shooting, but now you see your picture's always perfectly exposed because it's making use of, like we do in photography, it's got a light meter, so it measures the light in the scene and it adjusts all the settings automatically to keep the scene at the correct exposure.
But that is very dangerous to do because it pushes up your ISO automatically. You think it's nicely exposed. You get to the office, then it's an ISO of 3,000-4,000. So
then you see all the noise and all the grain and all that stuff, and you wonder, but why is it looking like this? And then you see it brought the shutter down, or pushed the shutter up, pushed up the ISO. So whereas we want to be able to control it manually, and there's often in the menu system, there's a way to deactivate auto exposure. It differs from camera to camera, but all cameras will have that. Some people use preset modes. I know someone that would shoot in the daylight, come from outside, then go from inside, go outside, and then go to aperture priority. And then the camera decides it's on automatically what shutter or frame rate, or not frame rate, shutter speed is going to use. and controls the exposure that way.
That helps a lot, especially when I do a lot of hotel videos. So you want the client to go through the room and go out onto the balcony. Now you can see for yourself inside it's going to be very dark. So the person is opening up the slide door, going out to the outside. Then you need to shoot on that aperture priority just for him to automatically from the inside to the outside.
Because otherwise you have to every time, oh wait, stop, and then you change, continue your shot, and it doesn't make the video.
We started out like that, I can remember, but we quickly learned.
Okay, kom, okay, stop geniet. Okay, gaan.
Yeah, we cheat.
We cheated.
Give it like a zoom, quick zoom transition.
And we fix it in transition.
Yeah, fix it in post.
Don't tell all this.
Okay.
See, man. Okay, so when you're going to shoot video, you want something to happen with that video. You're going to process it like you do with your photographs. You process them. You do post-process. And the things you need for a good video edit is good visual that's well exposed. And obviously steady.
Yeah, steady shots.
You don't want shaky video too much.
Handheld. We always had a joke with it. Death by handheld.
Hashtag.
You get.
We would tweet. Editing. Wait. We would tweet in the air. So what's tweet without tweeting?
Yeah.
Hashtag death by handheld. So we just say it because we just.
So we made a rule. Everything on tripods.
Yeah.
Or on gimbals, because you think you're very steady, but if you go to put that footage on a big screen like this, it's all over the show.
Yeah.
So the rule, if it's not on a gimbal, only JP, he's got a camera that have image stabilization in, so he's mastered it already. But my crew,
you're so you speak such nice words.
Yeah.
Okay, so
anyway.
So it's good image, and then to get good image is good optimal lighting.
Yeah.
And sometimes that lighting is either going to be outside lighting, natural light, which comes from outside inside, or vice versa. Or, no, not vice versa. Light can't go from
it can't go out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, or you have the required indoor lighting to expose the intended the image you are shooting, and then sound. Getting clean sound.
That's the big one.
We struggled with that.
So sound is one of those things that, especially when there's people involved. If you're making a nice video for a coffee shop or a hotel, you don't have to bother about sound, because it's going to be a nice track or a licensed music track that you bought from the internet. But if you have to do with speeches, document people that's doing some recordings for a video, then the sound is one of the most important things about the video. You can get away with shaky shots or underlit shots, you can light them up, but if the sound is not right,
almost unforgivable.
We've learned the hard ways over the years. That's why we have a recorder, a backup recorder, and a backup recorder.
Not so many backups, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 2 shoots, and then the backup must go.
Yeah.
So then we must just be meticulous.
Yeah. So what we do is we use our Sennheiser, the lapel mics that we have here now, to transfer the audio to our camera straight in. Just to, for instance, my recorder is there by the desk, but somehow the guy at the desk turns it down, or the battery of the recorder dies, then it just cuts off. So we try to get it in camera, so you can stand with your camera, with your earphones on, and listen to the audio, make sure, because there isn't the extra guy that's standing by the vision mix desk and listen to the audio the whole time. We don't have enough people to do that, or the budget. So what we do is we try to get the audio in our ears to make sure if something goes wrong, we can just say, whoa, stop, go quickly. No, we can't say stop, but...
Yeah, no, you can't, not in an event. So basically, let's say you are shooting an event, and the event is a mixture of things happening, and speeches and a presentation, and music, and vibe. So many variables. And one of the events we did this year was at the beach club in town. And there was a band playing, and there was not even a speech.
No, this is guy
talking. Just the band playing. But we want to capture some of that. And we had to make sure that there's a recorder at the desk and speak to the engineer. And that's why being a nice guy helps a lot. Yeah. Because, that's why being a nice guy helps a lot. Because you go speak to, you go to the engineer, you approach someone that doesn't know you. And all of a sudden you are trying to, he's so busy here because he's got a job to do, but now he must attend to you. So you've got to also be, sensitive to those things. So you go, be nice, even if you're not a nice person, act nice.
Yeah.
Act,
Like just,
like my friend would always say, people say to get somewhere in the industry, you've got to be humble. That's why I act humble.
Who was that guy? Was it me?
No, yeah,
Okay.
that's why I act humble. Just make it make an effort to approach someone with a good attitude, and you know what? They will look after you. It really helps. Bring them a drink or bring them some food, and they're like, "Oh, is this for me?" Just
Be nice,
yeah.
But being nice is not always enough. You get to situations where you think you're going to grab the audio from the guy's desk, and then the guy just refuses. He just say, sorry, this was not part of my plan or part of my brief. We had an incident at a wedding where there was an artist that I'm not going to name the artist, but he was actually doing some songs for the couple. He brought his own desk, and I asked him, listen, can I, because I do the speeches and everything through the desk. And I asked him nicely, listen, is there any way we can put our recorder in for the sound? And the guy said, no way. I was like, but I need it for the couple. He said, there's absolutely no way you're going to do it. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, this guy thinks I'm going to go out and put his songs online or sell it because he's a famous artist. And my plan B was to literally put a recorder by the speaker because the only way I can get sound. And he took my speaker and put the speaker away from me. So you get stuff like that. You always say, listen, now we just grab from the desk, but you must be prepared. What is the plan B, A and B not working? What is plan C?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we had to literally go to the couple and say, listen, this is a situation. And the guy was just like, you know what, don't worry about it. But it's so sad. So then you have to use the ambient audio, which is very bad. So just always be prepared for the worst that can happen, because these things happen. You think it's like in fairy tales, but they do happen.
Yeah. So when it comes to building up, if you want to get into this, you got to build up a little bit. Same as when you start taking photos. You don't just have a camera and a lens. You've got some accessories. You've got some stuff. And I just made a list of some of the basic things. That's quite important. As basic as it is, without these things, you might as well just not do it. So one of those things we always recommend is a good steady tripod. Now see at the bottom I emphasized, don't go cheap, but get value for money.
Yeah.
So going cheap, I'm not saying don't spend little money. I'm saying if you're going to spend little money, make sure it's the best value you're going to get for that. Meaning in the stores, it costs 3 times that, but you got it for 3 times less.
Yeah.
And like Nelis said
and buy second hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Okay, like Nelis said yesterday.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So like I said yesterday, just completing your sentence.
Like Nelis said like you said yesterday, don't be scared to buy something that's second-hand or used.
So Celia was standing here and he said, listen, I need to get a tripod. I said, listen, just stand there. I scrolled onto Marketplace.
Like this?
I got him a tripod for
like
2,000 rand.
And then he did this and he said,
photo. He's like, what? And I literally sent him the link of the guy and they met up. Like, don't be scared to buy secondhand. Basically, all my gear that I started out with was secondhand. All the tripods that you see here in the office is all secondhand gear, where I got half the price for. Because people buy stuff, they don't use it, then they just throw it back onto the marketplace. Isn't it insane how many people just don't use their stuff anymore and sell it for cheap, especially traveling, lightweight. Like this guy over here, I will not travel with that guy, but the tripod on that side, you'll see, is very lightweight, still do the job, but it's foldable. I can put it in my travel bag. Just think about how you're gonna, don't buy this big tripod that's gonna be difficult to move
travel
from one.
I think also one of the important things for doing this session is that sometimes your business you can service your clients as a photographer, but now you see there's a potential to expand what you can do for your client. You don't have to look for new clients. Sometimes you can actually just service existing clients, and they don't always realize it, but almost every client, if you're doing work for clients at companies and businesses, whether they want to admit it or not, they need video.
Yeah.
Everyone, you can walk out of the center and every company that's here will need video of some sort.
The other day we did a photo shoot for a company and the profile, and he basically took his camera out and started filming the place, and we put a nice little 1-minute clip together and we sent it to the client and they completely freaked out.
Yeah.
They could use it for their Instagram and social media by just using a normal quick thing on your feed.
Yeah.
Let's make a nice video for the client. They were very happy, and many times I've upsold myself, where I say, listen, we do a photo shoot, but we do a quick video of the place, and then they love it at the end of the day.
Because they don't think about it and they don't really see the value in it until you give them the option. Then they realize they can't do without it anymore.
Sorry about my throat.
Yeah, it's all good. All good.
Nice. Long week. It was a long week of speeches.
So many times, I've kind of had to get my mind into a mode where I need to diversify myself. So I need to be. You kind of want to be as good in the one thing as you are in the other. And that takes work, it takes practice, it takes time to develop it. So many times we're able to, as a one-man person.
Okay.
One-man man.
One-person man.
Yeah, one-person man. One-man show. Go and travel to a client wherever they are. And with whatever's on your back or in your hand, you can do their photos for them and do their video and travel back. Lightweight, compact as possible, and then deliver the job. And many times the clients don't have a budget for you to bring a team. So you need to it's a good thing to kind of get yourself, build your knowledge so that you're able to do all these things, you know?
And it's not rocket science. It's basically basic stuff to get this perfect shot that's well lit, and in post you can do so much. Like the first clip that we show you guys, it was a bunch of random GoPro clips that we just recorded for 3 days, and that the editing side, everything just flows and it works, and it's just telling the story with the editing. So it's really not rocket science. I've done so many videos with my phone that I just behind the scenes while I'm shooting, and Henry could just put a nice video clip together at the end of the day.
So these are kind of basic tools you need. To kind of just get your videography started. And then part of that is your post-processing kind of flow, which is having a good laptop or desktop computer, and it could be any platform, Windows or Apple, and then learning editing software. These are some of the more popular ones, Adobe Premiere Pro, Apple Final Cut Pro. And then a lot of people use Sony Vegas on Windows. And
okay.
They don't use it on Apple. They have to use it because you don't get it for Apple.
Yeah, shame.
Yeah. Anyway, getting over that. And there's other programs as well that allows you to do it. To just take your video footage and just tracking back years back. How they used to edit video was they take the roll out of the reels and find the frame, cut it with a blade, find the next frame they want to match it, glue it together. That's literally what they do. That was all done manually in a room where they were cutting. Same as if you go into a dark room and you develop photos, print photos. Same, everything's manual. Now you get a Lightroom for editing photos. Darkroom, Lightroom, Light Lounge. Yeah. So now that whole process, that manual hand do everything by hand process, is now exactly the same concept, but just in software format.
And we're going to touch about that at the end of the second session. We're going to quickly do a quick clip in the second session. We're going to drag it into Premiere Pro or Final Cut, and then we're just going to quickly.
We're not dropping names. We're going to do it. We're just going to do it.
Just going to put it together. So you can see how to start a project. So stick around.
Yeah. And then also one of the other important things is having a portable and desktop hard drive.
Yeah.
Why don't just have one? Because hard drives hard drives.
Yeah.
We've lost so much work in the past.
Eskom is not our friend at sometimes.
And one of those things is also hard drives fail. So often you're going to have multiple hard drives. But why portable? I keep portable drives that's this size in my bag. Not this size, but I mean, I keep it in my bag. So when I'm traveling,
This size.
that size. when I'm traveling and I need to back up work, I'll do it on a portable. And when I get home, I back that up to a bigger desktop drive that's got more space. So I catalog, and which we'll talk about cataloging as well. I do all that at home so that your media, your client's media, is always in two places. It's not a backup if it's not in a different place as well.
Yeah, you guys must remember the client pays a lot of money. For you to shoot for a full week, say for instance a full week, and not looking after your footage, it's as good as
as you didn't do anything.
As you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So the backup of your media is it's like the most important part of the whole job, starting from finish to end, is to make sure you've got your media at a sure location.
In a secure place, yeah.
Secure.
Because at the end of the day, when you rock up to a shoot or an event or your client's site, you've come there with 150,000 rands worth of equipment, but the value of your job
lies in the hard drive.
Lies on the memory card.
Memory cards, yeah.
That becomes the most valuable asset on that day.
Especially leaving the job.
Yeah.
We can throw our camera bags in the back, they can steal it while we're at the robot, but we always keep our cards on our pouches, on our hips, for the remaining till we get to the office. Even especially when we do travel weddings, I took or corporate shoots, we literally sleep with our cards under our cushion. That's the extent, because if a client pays you 120,000 rand for a job, this is a pack of 120,000 rand notes. Yeah. That's how you need to see it. Yeah. Because if that stuff gets stolen or it's lost, you have to get 120,000 to give it back.
You can misplace a lens, you can misplace a camera.
Yeah, you can.
But you cannot misplace your memory card. When the moment you open up your card slot and you take that card out, that thing you've got to know where that thing is until the moment you put it in the computer at home and back it up.
You have to place a value on it.
Yeah.
Once you've opened up that thing, it's like you're working with gold or pure, something very expensive, because we get tend to just throw cards here in the bag or no.
Yeah.
That's very
and
important.
I think an exercise also, and these products are available at ORMS. You can go to ORMS or Camera World or any camera store, and you get a memory card holder that allows you to keep it on you.
Yeah.
So mine, I've got a little card wallet. It's got a clip. It's always on my belt, and it's always in my pocket. So when I take cards out, I always put them in an order in a way that I know these cards are used. And when I leave there, no cards should be in the camera bag, because if I don't see, or someone tries to hijack me or whatever, and the camera with the card is in, like what do we? Once we were on a job, Nelis crashed his drone. But you know what? We like, oh my word, he's like, nee, must find the kaartjies alright.
That was it.
Yeah, because your camera or your drone or whatever you can replace. But if you lose that media, you can't replace. You can't get back that moment.
Yeah.
And
especially if you're shooting a full day, and you why don't you have to tell him I'm a bad flyer now? It was a bird came out of nowhere.
You're much better now.
Just a tree jumped in
You
front
fly
of the
better
drone.
than the birds.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason we get to that mindset is because we've already made mistakes. So, and we feel it when someone comes and says, you know what, I lost my footage or my images on the card. We know the feeling, I don't think there's a photographer in the world that's going to make fun of you, or because we know the value of what that is. And sometimes it can crush you, it can make you feel like you don't want to do it again. And we felt like it. Well, I felt like that. Then Nelis said, "Nee man, moenie so wees nie man."
Yeah.
No,
the feeling. I know.
Yeah, we know the feeling. So at the end of the day, try to use whatever information is available to learn your tools. Get to know the whatever you have. Get to know the gear. I always say, if you know your gear's limitations, you're going to actually exceed that, or you're going to do better. Yeah. So, for instance, if I only have a camera that can do what? 800 ISO, for instance, 25 frames per second. I can't do anything. It's fine. I know that now. So now I'm only going to work within that parameters. And then it allows you to think and be as creative as you can with what you have. If all you have is an iPhone, figure out what's the limit I can go. What's the furthest I can push this thing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, these tools are only merely a way for you to get the imagination and bring it to reality.
Yeah, I see the comment that you made about the shoes. It's such an important part, especially as a photographer as well. You constantly, when you're shooting shows or you're at CTICC covering an event, it's difficult to get nice corporate shoes that's comfortable. That's, I think, is one of the biggest things out there that's on every photographer's shopping list, is to get nice corporate looking shoes that can fit with a nice jean or chino. So that is such an important, because half the way through the day you can like try to walk on your hands, or if you have this nice tight leather shoes on for the day. Oh man, I can remember the first time I wanted to impress the client and put off my best shoes, and halfway through the shoot I couldn't even, I was like literally standing at the back on my socks start shooting because I just couldn't. So shoes is a very important thing, to find a nice corporate looking shoes, especially when you're doing events. I tend to wear black. That's the industry standard, because you need to blend into the background. So if you go into like CTICC, we shoot there a lot. All the service providers have black black clothing on. So I found myself a pair of Skechers for the first time ever. I walk on clouds. It's really amazing. So shoes is very important.
Can I walk with you?
My wife doesn't like it at all. She said I look like I'm going paragliding, but anyway.
So at the end of the day, learning or being able to complement your business with video, it doesn't mean you're only going to do video. It means like I always, if you're a photographer, people know you're a photographer. Then you come and do video and say, but why are you doing video? You're a photographer. Yeah. I mean, it's like, who cares? You know, why can't you also do that?
Like in the old days, and I'm just going to quickly interrupt you there, is like you're a wedding photographer and you build a relationship up with other videographers. So you were friends, so you pair up with the videography guys, and now you want to start doing video. So you kind of like, do I break the relationship that I have with this guy, or am I going to go and look after my own business? Because for me in the beginning, I'm like a people pleaser. I love people. I had some amazing video guys. So when I do a wedding and a client say, listen, can you do video? I've got this go-to guys that I normally use, and we build up a great relationship. And then at the end of the day, I was like feeling like I can actually do the video myself, but I didn't want to hurt their feelings by becoming their competition. So I literally had to have a meeting with the guy and say, listen, my client wants me, because you're not available that weekend, my client needs videographers. I'm really do respect, but I need to start looking after my own. And he was so glad. I had a meeting with him and we shook hands, and I started doing a video as well. But that opened up all the doors for me, because Relaunch Studio is 80% videography driven. It looks like we're this beautiful, big photography company, which we are, but not in a bad way. But we do mostly video, and we do a lot of. Most of our stuff is for clients that we can't showcase.
So you don't always get to see.
So most of us, the videography stuff that we do, we can't put online for people to see. And that's a sad reality, because you're working with international clients, it's for their personal portfolio, so you can't go put it on your YouTube account and say, hey, look at this awesome video that we did. So about 80% of our videos, we never get to showcase our clients or the people out there, just because of privacy reasons. So most of the luckiest fun stuff that we normally ask the clients, guys, do you mind if we share it on the social media? You have to get permission, otherwise some clients would directly ask you from the beginning, please don't put it on your social media. Because what do? We just want to get a video for our client, and then we're going to put it up on our Facebook page, and we're going to look cool. In reality fact, they actually wanted to spare that video for an opening at a grand event, and now you're playing the video. So, which luckily I haven't done before, but you just need to think about that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of client etiquette. I mean, I've done so much work for clients where the intended where the media is going to is to showcase on international news or whatever. And I so much want to use that just to show what I'm able to do, but you're not allowed to. If they don't have any, if they haven't signed off anything, you're actually then acting in an illegal capacity to just do that. So, and then you kind of just have to wait until you one day see it on the news, if you even get to see that.
Yeah, because that's a sad reality is when you do it like this amazing opportunity with certain people, celebrities that you want to showcase. Listen, look who the people I worked with, and you just can't because of privacy reasons. So, but we still love it.
Yeah, I think that's all my slides.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Next?
No.
No, next?
No.
Nothing. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Q&A.
Let's quickly,
if there's anyone who has
before we go to
questions.
Q&A, I'm just going to quickly run through some camera settings that I want you guys just to look at before starting with your video, because there is a bit more than just the frame rates, the DPIs. Let's quickly go to my camera setting. Okay, I'm just going to quickly run through a few stuff from the beginning. So obviously, let's go to the second one. Here's your Kelvin. So those who don't know Kelvin, you can see you get your auto white balance, your sunny, your tungsten. But we shoot on Kelvin just because you can control your temperature. To get a nice consistent temperature, you above 4.5, you go to a warmer side. From 4.5 downwards, you get a cooler feel. So depending on what you want to do, you can just go onto your Kelvin settings, so your white balance will be consistent. So I'm just going to quickly say, picture style is very important. Now, if you go into your menu, into your picture style, you'll see there's there's auto, there's standard. Henry, if you can just quickly make the blinds go down there behind you. Let's go into standard. I'm going to go into standard. This is set up for my photography. A lot of you guys don't know about these settings, so please do. I've touched on it on Monday, Tuesday about your settings on your camera to make sure is my shot, because just by dialing this little button down, this one over here, if I take it down, your sharpness will be down. So if you look at your file and it's not sharp, go check on your sharpness, because it's in-camera sharpness that you can actually set for yourself. Thank you, Henry.
And sometimes over-sharpening is not always good, so you want to keep it kind of...
So for video, you don't want sharpness in your image because you want it nice and cinematic look. So
can I explain quickly why that is?
Yes, let's quickly.
So when you watch most movies, you'll see that there's a lot of techniques they use where they work with the focus of a lens, and you'll see that they shoot that one shot. It's blur. And then it comes into sharpness, and that's an artistic, creative
focus pull.
It's an intentional thing to tell you the story. Sometimes it's a situation of two people who are talking to each other and looking at each other, but while the one person speaking to that person, the focus is there, and in the same shot when this person speaks, the focus comes here. So they want to control, as filmmakers in Hollywood, they want to control every single aspect of capturing that shot. From the light, they want to control the light that comes into the camera, what shadows the camera sees, what sharpness the lens gets in the focus, and that's why. And here's the thing: DSLRs, when they're filming onto the sensor, it processes the video and actually compresses it to a format that takes all the information, like your picture control and everything, and burns it into the video. When they shoot big Hollywood movies, they've got cameras that shoot raw video, uncompressed. Let me quickly bring it back to layman's terms in terms of photography. When you shoot a portrait, you're going to shoot that portrait in most cases in RAW, not in JPEG. The JPEG is the image with all the color and settings and stuff of your camera burnt into it, whereas the RAW is literally all the digital data. And it's the same concept of video. So DSLRs, generally, most DSLRs, they convert it down to a .mov or .mp4, and you can still do a lot with that if you understand what you were doing with your color settings. But sometimes you can your sharpness is too high, your contrast is too high, your saturation is too high. Now you're looking back at the video on your screen and you can't understand, why is the skin so orange? Well, that's how it looked in the back of your camera, and it burnt all that in there. So,
Yeah, so just on that note, what he's saying now is, especially when you have a multi-camera setup, you've got 3 different cameras. The Calvin's is not the same. Now you put it all in post. Now this shot of my camera is a bit red, your camera is a bit blue. Now how do we sync that up? And that's where the biggest challenge is by grading. You call it grading, is
or
to
color
get
correction.
color correction, to get 3 camera angles with different settings to get it look the same.
Yeah.
And that's why we sometimes shoot on a picture profile that we load on each camera, which is standard. It's a flat image. You'll see if I go into CineStyle, let's go into that.
Go into video.
You'll see the sharpness is all the way down. This is like a video preset that we set up. You'll see the contrast is all the way down. The saturation is 2 stops down. And when you look at the image, let's quickly go to the actual image. I'm just going to quickly, I can't really see. I'm going to put this, you'll see there's not much color going on there. It's very vague.
There's not a lot of blacks. It's kind of grayish.
Yeah, it's very
almost
flat.
grayscale.
So you guys can see the profile that we use there is very flat. So you can go in post and put the contrast up again. I put the saturation back to bring all the colors back together. And by just throwing, sometimes you can throw a top layer and do all the corrections, and it just applies to all the footage.
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's a similar process of what you do with images in Lightroom. To color them, to blend them. Sometimes you have someone shooting a Canon and a Nikon on the same event, but you need to edit them to be together. And there are times that if you shoot Nikon, you've got a certain look that you get in the camera. If you shoot Canon, there's another look, or even 2 Canon cameras. And the contrast, the saturation, all the different settings. So now you've got to kind of make sure that they look like all of that was shot in one camera.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when we're doing multicam with multiple video DSLRs. We try to shoot all of them in that, so that when you edit it at the end, you're kind of matching the colors. You set one, and that's how you want it. Then you match the rest to that. If you're shooting with one camera, it's fine. You can set get a setting that you like in the camera, and you can most times work with that. Yeah.
So some cameras have touchscreen. Some of them, the older generation, does not have a touchscreen. So they don't allow you to do autofocus, where you normally tap on the screen and it focuses. So some entry-level cameras don't have it. I know it's about like the 70D, the 5D4s. They all have like nice touchscreens, so you can just basically set your face tracking and stuff in this menu by just selecting it. So then you can just tap on the face, it'll jump focus. I'm just going to quickly run then down to the you can see either MP4 or MOV. Let's go down to the frame rate. So now you can see if you want to do a little bit of slow-mo stuff, you can go up to your 50 frames. If you want to do normal project on 25 frames. So I'm just going to quickly run through the basic stuff quickly here. So I'm just going to quickly show you guys what you have to look out for. Not in the pink, we don't have to worry. Anything there, I'm just going to go here. So LCD brightness is always a very crucial thing. When it's in auto, guys, remember, auto LCDs is very dangerous, especially shooting outside. Your image is looking very nicely, but what your camera does, it's shrinking your
brightness
down because it's very bright outside. And then you shoot according to your screen, but when you get to the footage, it's all overexposed. Same at night. When you shoot video at night, it brightens up your image, and now you see this bright image. So you kind of put your levels at a certain. When you get to the office, it's all dark. So just check on your LCD brightness so it is not an auto, because that's one of the things that can throw you out as well. It's a very small thing, but it's very, very dangerous as well. So I'm just going to quickly, the PAL that he explained to you guys, there's not much that we need to know. HDMI frame rate, this is basically going out onto that. Not much needed there as well. So I think we quickly covered the basics already. Yeah, I think that's basically it on the. Let's quickly.
In terms of
we
your
can just
camera, yeah.
leave it, yeah.
So basically, just knowing what kind of video system you want to use, whether it's NTSC or PAL, is basically that decision you make in the beginning. How do I want the image to look? You're going to shoot at 24 frames or 30 frames. Then you know at least you're going to shoot something that's that's going to look cinematic, especially with at 24 frames.
Quickly run.
Yeah, just go there quickly. But we generally shoot most of what we do in South Africa is at 25 frames. We view it at 25 frames, so we shoot a video at 25 frames as well. And we make the decision to use a higher frame rate for a moment, either a moment or something specific, so that because we know in editing that's something we are going to slow down. For instance, if we're doing a wedding, we're going to shoot the bride coming down the aisle at 50 frames per second, because we want to be able to slow that down smoothly. That's a moment that they want to be able to look at and just take it all in. Another moment I think is the first kiss, or the kiss the bride, or the dance.
Yeah.
There's moments. You want to make a dramatic moment. So when we are shooting, we think, okay, let's plan for that, and we use that, and then we move it back when everything else is happening, back to the normal frame rate. And then at least we know what we're going to do in the editing.
Okay, just going to quickly go to the most important part is the audio. You guys can see when it goes into the yellow and the red, it's a bit, you can see there's some, it's peaking, we call it peaking. Especially when you're shooting an event, speeches, and you've got 3 different cameras, but you only have one audio. And that is the audio of the desk, of the guy that's sitting there with the speakers and stuff. You start recording your audio. You need to set up your camera so that they can actually hear what is going on inside, because you need to sync it at the end of the day with the guy that's with his audio, with the camera's audio. And how to do that is we normally, especially with interviews, we do a sync clap. So we stand in front of the camera and we just, you'll see there's a peak there. So in post, you drag your audio file with your video file, you'll see that there's a little of a peak.
Spike.
You spike.
Yeah.
And then you can just sync it up in there. These days, Premiere Pro, you just select the 2 files and right click and say sync, and then sync it according to audio. But it's very important for you to go set up your audio levels so that it actually can, because if your audio levels are all the way down, the music can play, the guy can, all you're going to go like, then you physically have to go to a certain point in your video where the guy drinks his water, and when he's put his water in his mouth,
and then you know that's
you sync it with the other camera angle, just to make sure you've got one contact point, and that's just a trick. Sometimes when you hand over the mic into somebody's hand, that'll be like a defined moment where you can sync without audio. Because you get that sometimes you shoot a big event the evening, it's loud, it's drummed, and you put your audio down all the way. The next morning you jump out, you get the next video job, and you forgot to put your audio levels up, and then you get where you don't have the sound. So it's very important to go and make sure that there's proper audio, and you can just check your levels while shooting. You'll see there, just I normally just keep it there. We normally shoot off air. So that's very, very important for audio. And the other thing is sometimes, I'm just going to quickly go in the menu, especially, let's go in there's a microphone out port as well, where you have your microphones on, but your headphones, yeah, microphones. Your headphones is on your ears, but your headphones levels are, say for instance, 1 or 2. So now you try to compensate the audio that's busy recording with what you are hearing. So now you push the levels here just to hear something over here on this side. Then your video audio started peaking, and you don't understand it because it sounded great in your ears, but in the meantime the camera had to push up the audio. So make sure your headphone levels are set about 8, so that you can make sure what you actually hear is the true representation of what you're recording. That's very important, because sometimes we put our earphones on, it sounds nice. Meantime, it's the recorder's volume output that's on its highest, and then you get to the office and the sound is very, you can't hear what happened. So recording volume versus headphones volumes to make sure you align that, to make sure you get the best audio.
Got 17 minutes.
Let's quickly do some Q&As. Somebody can grab the mic. Who have some questions? Good. Sorry, man. I'm sitting on the side. Yeah.
In your equipment list, you said a good memory card and a good card reader.
Yeah.
What are you suggesting?
I'll start with the card reader.
Yeah.
Minimum USB 3. Guys, we're talking about gigs here. It's not megabytes, especially when you're starting using video. You will get to the shock realization that your hard drive is your best friend. There's no small, like 6 terabytes, 8 terabytes, you quickly start filling that thing. So card reader is very important. You get, SanDisk is a very nice brand.
Yeah, there's a few SanDisk and Lexa.
Yeah, there's a few brands, but get a USB 3 one. You get a lot of them that you buy at the China shop or at different shops, but go get
some computer stores even sell it, but
Yeah.
it's not
It's not
always
always
USB
USB
3.
3.
It's USB 2 sometimes.
Go on to Takealot. I think Takealot's been taking over the industry at the moment.
Takealot's
There's
taking a lot.
so many. Yeah, Takealot costs me a lot. Get a USB 3 card that is at least at 4 different card slots. It's your SD card, your CF card,
Your micro.
then you get your micro SD, and then you get some of those other camcorders have that long SD card. I don't know if it's a SD, it's a XFC of sorts,
Yes.
but most of the cards that we use is CF and
SD.
SD. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in terms of memory cards,
Oh, yeah.
there's no. We're not saying any specific brand is better or worse, but we, like Raymond said yesterday, he trusts SanDisk. Lex is also good, but he prefers SanDisk as a personal preference.
Yeah.
But we look at on the cards, it'll show you a
Megabytes per second.
yes,
frame,
it's a speed, a write speed that it
Yeah.
allows, and the higher the write speed, the more expensive the card's going to be.
Yeah.
But it also has to be like an Ultra 3 Class 10, because it allows you to, first of all, to capture high definition video fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a slow card in your DSLR and you see you're recording, and after like a minute it says it can't write fast enough.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same thing if you're taking stills. You take stills and sometimes you've got moments happening and you're shooting, but now the shutter's not working because
It's
the
loading
camera
and
can't
loading.
write fast enough to the card. And fast cards for photographers are also quite vital because it writes so quickly that it just doesn't slow you down. The same with video.
Yeah, minimum of 150 megabytes per second. If you want to record a good, decent HD files continuously.
4K. 4K 150
yeah,
megabytes
4K,
and up. Standard HD, you get
Yeah, you can shoot
from
on
60
90.
from 60 megabytes per second to 90 to 120. They are fine. But when you start to shoot 4K
yeah.
video, which people are slowly getting into now, it's not that it doesn't write, it needs to write fast, just that the 4K file size is so huge that it needs to just dump that footage quickly onto the card.
Yeah.
And if it can't do that, then the camera will say it can't, there's an error.
Yeah, SanDisk got those black ones with the black and red ones. They're very expensive for a reason, but they really, we've got, it helps a lot when you know it's not going to be because you can press record and leave it and you don't know if this thing is going to go record or not.
Yeah.
So the file rates on the personal preferences, SanDisk is for me, and Lexar. Those two brands are the two top ones.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Video related? Okay, I'm just going to quickly run onto the. You can maybe let's just tell what is that? We're going to do a setup just now after the session.
Yeah. Okay, so what we'll do just now, now in the next session, is I'm literally going to demonstrate how it's the one thing that when you're starting with video, you're going to come across most often, where you might find a block, a wall, or oh, I don't know what to do here. Because there's many elements that has to come together for you to do this. And it's how we would set up a one-camera interview, one-person interview, how we record it. And it's not only the visual, it's also the sound, how we record the sound, and then lighting. how we would light that up. So we'll do literally a demo. We'll have our guest
Yeah,
host.
yeah.
So, we'll frame him, light him up, mic him up.
Shoot me.
Yeah, shoot
Sounds
him,
terrible.
shoot him, and keep it simple. He'll just introduce himself.
Yeah.
That's it, and we'll stop. Then I'll show you how I take that, pull it, back it up onto the computer, create a folder system for that and the audio that we've recorded, and then how I pull it into a video session, how I bring it in, how I cut it up, and what we do with that.
Okay, so there's some questions on the live streaming, guys. Keep that questions coming. There's one from Chantel Rulse. Is it advisable to shoot PAL or NTSC here in SA? What would you advise?
Well, I think it depends on what
The
you're going.
frame rate, yeah.
Yeah, what you're going to shoot. Sometimes we would do a wedding, but we want an extra cinematic look and feel. It's not going to be played on TV, so we're not worried about the TV system.
Yeah.
But there's a look and a feel that goes with that. And 24 frames looks very cinematic. Well, if you look at movies, you're watching a lot of movies in 24 frames. So we would shoot it maybe at 24 and 60, because in that PAL setting, you're able to shoot 60 if your DSLR allows it. And then we would use those moments we shoot in high frame rate to slow down for certain moments, to accentuate the movement or whatever, and edited that in 24 frames. And Final Cut is very good at mixing and blending frame rates. So you could shoot something at 60 frames, pull it into a 25 frames per second or 24 frames timeline, and it still looks like 24 frames, but all the other extra frames, it kind of just keeps there. So if you want to stretch it out, it allows you to then still have that smooth motion. So it depends on what you want to do. If we are shooting events, that's standard, it's going to look, we just want to shoot excitement and stuff, we would either shoot it in 25 frames and many times in 50 frames. So I think it's a decision you make at the beginning, but to be safe, South Africa's standard is 25.
Another question here from Randall Adams is, how is it advisable to film a whole wedding in 180 at 50p? That means full HD at 50 frames per second. On my side, I think, Randall, what we normally do is the outside stuff. It's nice for that to get some slow motion if you want to do it in post. But especially going inside, indoors, going down to 25p is just giving you that a little bit more light.
Yeah.
Especially indoors when the ceremony is normally in the church. So outside stuff, 50 frames all the way. Inside, we'll drop it down to 24, 25 frames, just for that little bit of more extra light.
Yeah, the reason for that, especially with weddings, is when it gets to the reception part, the preferred look and feel is a very low light ambience, because that's just how they want the event to feel and look. And many times, it's a decision the couple makes, and they make that decision with the organizer and the planner. We can't say, hey, just please put on the venue lights, because then it's going to look like they are where in the stadium, and it's,
So what we normally do is we put some LED lighting on, because you can't have the guy standing there in the dark.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to put on some. You're killing the mood, but your client wants you to have a decent video with beautiful lighting. The people or the venue, the person wants the nice. So what we do, especially with the dancing, we put our LED lights on for the first 4 or 5 songs to get enough footage to actually say, listen, okay, we've got all our shots, now we can just do that darky, moody, with all the laser stuff kind of shots. And then at the end of the evening, when the party is really going, we just pop up our LEDs up again, just to get the last bit of, because then Oma and everybody's joining. The guys have a little bit of fun there, so they're a bit more open, because in the beginning they're all like stick people. So
and especially in the evenings and the receptions, having something like an LED video light, even if it's just to light up the speeches. So you're literally going to put it on a stand, and you're only going to light wherever that person's speaking, and you're going to record that. Everywhere else is going to be dark ambience. People don't mind that too much, because then at least it allows the guests to actually see and their eyes focus on there where it's lit up. Sometimes we would want to light up the bridal table, and we'd bounce light, some LEDs into the ceiling, and just give it a bit more ambience. And many times they don't mind. It looks amazing on video, but then you use your discretion, and you kind of feel your client. You kind of get the mood, and You think they'll be okay with it? Do they mind? Because sometimes they really want to see candlelit lights, and then you can't always work around that. So yeah, so that's a decision you kind of make on the day, and you discuss it with the client, I think. But preferably, you're going to shoot it at 25 frames indoors, and so that you can at least lower your shutter speed for that exposure.
There's another question here. Settings for shooting on DSLR. That question I'll get now with the lady that sent it. So, shooting on DSLR, basic settings, what should you use?
Okay, let's take a standard scenario.
Thank you, Tamara Williams.
Yeah.
Williams. Yeah.
Let's take a standard scenario. You're gonna shoot something on a DSLR. Someone asks you to shoot a birthday party that's outside, which is perfect. So you don't need to worry too much because there's enough light, first of all. So if you have a DSLR that doesn't allow you to shoot at a high frame rate, you only can shoot 25 frames, for instance. Set it at 25 frames. Your shutter, you might not, because there's so much light, and most lenses actually it's a lot of light in. You don't want to push your shutter up too much. You still want to get some motion blur. So you want to, whatever your
Look and feel is, yeah.
Look and feel, yes.
Yeah.
Whatever your motion, your shutter, your frame rate is, your shutter, you want to keep it double that. So if you want to control your exposure, the next thing you're going to set is your aperture, because you already come down with your ISO, and sometimes 100 ISO, you need to it's still bright.
And with that, and I'm just going to quickly interrupt you, is the type of style that you want to shoot. Because sometimes, for instance, you're telling a story, you want to shoot at f1.4, for instance. But now, to get the motion blur, there's no way going around it. You have to up your shutter speed. Some shots, you just need to shoot at a shutter speed of 4,000.
Yeah.
Because you wanted actually a depth of field look. But if you're going to go to a more cinematic look, you have to be double your frame rate and just push your f-stop off
for the motion, for the motion blur,
for the nice clean looking shot.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want to shoot, Tamara. There's so many styles, so many.
Yeah.
So any questions still from you guys?